It began like a whisper on the edge of Washington's echo chamber, a low murmur, too wild to be real, yet too persistent to ignore. And when Kash Patel, former chief investigator, known for his sharp legal mind and unapologetically bold disclosures, stepped into that studio with the cryptic line, "It's done," no one fully understood what he meant, but within moments it became clear he wasn't teasing policy memos or political gossip. He was dropping something far more volatile, a claim that former President Barack Obama had long-standing, obscured connections with CIA initiatives not publicly disclosed, and as the words poured out, the room shifted from casual interview posture to locked, breath-held stillness. Kash wasn't rambling, and he wasn't speculating. He spoke with the poise of someone holding hard documents, redacted names, and a timeline of events that connected dots previously thought unrelated, as he outlined how Obama's early years, supposedly rooted in grassroots organizing and academic excellence, overlapped suspiciously with covert programs meant to cultivate foreign assets, shape ideological influences, and embed operatives in academic institutions and diplomatic pipelines. Under the guise of merit-based fellowship programs, he wasn't claiming Obama was an agent in the 07 sense, no tuxedo, no gadgets, but rather that he had been watched, vetted, and subtly sponsored by intelligence frameworks due to his unique background, his exposure to global environments, and his unusual access to elite networks despite no traditional deep state ties at the time. And that sponsorship came with long-term expectations, not explicit orders, but a shaping hand that subtly guided his rise, made certain doors open faster than others, ensured the right mentors appeared at the right time, and protected his narrative in the public sphere with quiet, persistent force. Kash then connected the dots to key names within the intelligence community, showing how Obama's key advisors, figures like John Brennan, who himself had a CIA past shrouded in Middle East operations, were not merely political allies, but part of a wider intelligence infrastructure that blurred the lines between elected leadership and unelected influence, a revolving door of loyalty and leverage that had been installed long before Obama ever stepped into the Senate. The more Patel spoke, the more the story shifted from outrageous conspiracy to uncomfortable plausibility, especially as he brought receipts, specific travel logs, funding pathways through think tanks tied to CIA contracts, and an unreported mentorship network that had embedded within universities like Columbia and Harvard, not just to monitor students, but to influence their ideological trajectories. "This wasn't an accident," he said calmly. "This was long-term strategy. Obama wasn't built overnight. He was curated." The impact of this statement rippled instantly, not just through the studio, but across digital media within minutes. Clips of Patel's face, grave and confident, splashed across screens while hashtags like Obama CIA and Kash Patel Bombshell exploded in every corner of the internet, bringing with them floods of both disbelief and furious investigation. The backlash was immediate, with critics accusing Patel of political theatrics or dangerous disinformation. But even skeptics couldn't deny that the data he presented wasn't forged speculation. It was real documentation, and the questions it raised went beyond partisan conflict. They touched on the very fabric of democracy, the unelected hands behind elected power, and whether America had truly been choosing its leaders or merely ratifying carefully molded candidates chosen by institutions far beyond the public's view. Patel didn't offer a smoking gun in the classic sense. There was no single document titled Operation Obama, but he offered something more disturbing, a mosaic of connections, incentives, and carefully placed actors that pointed toward a scenario where the American people had been watching a performance while the script was written elsewhere. He pointed to Obama's early silence on NSA surveillance, The way his drone policy expanded Bush-era tactics and the sudden access his administration had to international cooperation programs that typically required years of bureaucratic build-up, all of which seemed too streamlined for a first-term president with no prior executive experience. Unless, of course, those lanes had been pre-cleared by agencies with a vested interest in continuity, control, and plausible deniability. As Patel continued, he drew attention to one of the most chilling details, how criticism of the intelligence community dried up almost entirely during the Obama years, despite public controversies like Snowden's leaks or Libya's collapse, and how figures within the CIA, FBI, and DNI not only retained their roles across administrations, but were often promoted, hinting at a hidden allegiance that ran deeper than partisan loyalty. This wasn't about Obama the man, Patel clarified. This was about Obama the vessel, polished, articulate, globally palatable, and entirely beneficial to a hidden system that needed legitimacy, not disruption. The conversation took a darker turn when he hinted at efforts to cover tracks, missing files from Obama's early records, sealed academic writings, and odd redactions in what should have been public speeches or grant applications from his pre-political life, suggesting not personal embarrassment but strategic omission. Even more compelling was the subtle manipulation of media narratives during Obama's rise, how dissenting journalists had been marginalized, how whistleblowers under his administration were prosecuted more aggressively than under any previous president, creating a chilling effect that Patel described as soft censorship enforced by admiration, where Obama's charisma and eloquence made questioning him feel unpatriotic or cynical. By the end of the disclosure, the line between hero and handler blurred in the minds of many listening, and the legacy of Barack Obama, long enshrined in global popularity and cultural impact, suddenly seemed laced with shadows deeper than political ideology, casting a chilling question across the political spectrum. If even the most celebrated leader of a generation had potentially been a product of institutional grooming, then how many others were? Patel concluded not with bombast, but with eerie calm, stating that more documents were coming, that the "it's done" referred not to vengeance but exposure, that the system would never unwind on its own, but sunlight, data, and fearless conversation might at least give people a clearer picture of who was pulling strings behind the podium. And as the video went viral, as headlines spun and pundits scrambled to deny or confirm the implications, one thing was certain. The silence surrounding the intelligence community's role in shaping leadership had been broken, and the ripples of what Kash Patel revealed wouldn't vanish with a rebuttal or fact-check. They had ignited something far more dangerous: public curiosity, and once people start asking who's really in charge, no amount of spin can restore blind trust.